Game week 6 in FPL saw the most people use a triple captainship in a single game week ever, and the vast majority played it on the Norse force Erling Haaland, and he rewarded us for our faith with that late haul, 2 goals in stoppage time to give us a massive 48 points. And when you're talking about a single game week triple captain, that really is beyond the stuff of dreams. But my FPL Nightmare, it still continues, although it does have a much nicer story to tell right now. We are on the, we're starting to turn it around a bit. We're on the up and up now, and overnight, in a lovely turn of events, overnight, we are up to the heady heights of 2.5 million in the world, which, when you think we were at 9.8 million just 3 game weeks ago, to be up to 2.5 million is a remarkable turnaround. And yes, it's all very tight at the minute still. It's all very close. It's far too early to be thinking about rank at all, really. But we do, of course we think about it. How can we not? This is what we play the game for, to try and be the best, to try and make the best decisions, to try and prove ourselves better than our mates. And, you know, a mate of mine yesterday, you may know as D-Unit, but I call Darius because that's his actual name, he fell in for the classic FPL trap of trying to be too different. And I just want to talk a little bit about that sort of thinking today. You can't really blame people for taking chances in this game. You know, the whole point of it is that we get different players and we make different decisions, and then ours pay off and we soar up those rankings. And my man Darius, he made a couple of wild decisions. He already owned Haaland, and he was starting to help him in the ranks, you know. And what did I say the other day? The only chip you should be playing in game week 6 is your triple captain, because it's the best week to play the chip, the most obvious chip on the most obvious player. And I said I would play that chip on exactly the player you'd expect, and he'd produce the results, and he did. And, you know, he left it late. Did Haaland, he left it to stoppage time to grab his brace. But it was certainly a lot of fun to see. I mean, when it hits differently when it comes in late like that. It hits differently when you think it's over. And the thing was, you know, I was watching it on my phone, and like, he had that chance after about 87 minutes. The Burnley player, he played the back pass. It was intercepted by Haaland. You know, he was about 20 yards out from goal, one-on-one with Dubravka, and you thought, this is the moment. This is where that solitary assist gets boosted by these points, these goal points, these inevitable bonus points. And he hit it straight at Dubravka, and it was like, oh my God, here we go. It's going to be one of those chips. But it wasn't, because he got another chance, Jeremy Doku, and then he got that other chance even later on. And like, from the crushing low of feeling like your triple captain's failed you, missed the best chance you could have ever dreamed for. You know, that's the sort of chance you dream of for your triple captain. And you think, oh, that's it, game over. And then produces his 2 goals after that, and it's like, come on now. This is beyond the stuff of fantasy, really. But it isn't. This is fantasy Premier League, and we dream these things can happen. And Erling Haaland is a player who makes the dreams come true in this game. And he did yesterday for a lot of people, but not D-Unit. Because the D-Unit, I said on the pubcast, and I was in the chat on the pubcast the other night, and I said to him, Darius, do you not think you're trying a bit too hard to be differential? Do you not think you're trying a little bit too hard to set yourself apart from people? Because I've been there. You know, it's not my first rodeo. And I have been in that position where you're chasing. Because D-Unit, he was down in the trenches with me. I mean, he still is now. Down in the trenches with me. And when you're down there, when you are struggling, when you are not where you want to be in the rankings, the overriding feeling, the instinct that grips you is that you have to take chances, that you have to keep pushing and pushing. And to try and get back up, you can't think, oh, I'll just captain the most obvious player in the most obvious game week. You think, oh, how can I find even more of an edge? And then you start telling yourself things, oh, what if everyone triple captains Haaland and I go for Phil Foden? What if? Not realising, you see, the problem with these little bubbles we live in on social media is that they're not representative of the wider game. You know, to look at Twitter, to look at YouTube, you'd think everybody in the world owned Marco Senesi. Still only 15% owned. You know, if you go for the obvious Marco Senesi, you've got an advantage over 85% of the field. And you might say, well, it doesn't matter in the context of engaged managers. But when you're down in the dumps, when you're down in the millions, it does matter. These things matter perhaps even more. That you play it not sensibly, but you limit your chances. You know, there's a wrestler, Randy Orton. Don't know if you know Randy Orton, but basically he's probably one of the most naturally gifted wrestlers you'd ever know. But he's boring. He is a boring wrestler. You know, and he can produce the big moments. And he can, when it counts the most, he can deliver what you hope for. But most of the time you watch him, you feel a bit empty. You're thinking, well, why is he so good? Why does everyone say he's so good when he just grabs a rear chin lock and sits down for 5 minutes? And it's frustrating. But what Randy Orton has is the meme potential with his finishing manoeuvre, the RKO, where he dives in from nowhere, often off camera, grabs somebody around the neck and slams them down, knocking them out. And, you know, that became a great meme a few years back. It was like people were superimposing him into all sorts of scenarios. But that's the point of this, is that that's a bit what FPL is like. You can't just be all out attack. You can't be Ange Postecoglou. You have to pick your moments. You have to be a viper like Randy Orton, and you have to pick your moments to strike. And going again, having Haaland and having the triple captain chip and not playing it yesterday it's a risk too far. And you know, there'll be other opportunities like this in the season. We don't know when yet, when the double game weeks come. And the problem is, like, it's such a gamble to go against something like that. You know, you've got Erling Haaland, the player in form, the player producing the goods, the only premium worth having at this moment in time. And he's against Burnley, and you think, oh, Burnley are resolute defence. It's going to be all right, you know, he's maybe going to be limited, but resolute defences and Erling Haaland, he's there to break them down. And, I mean, it was the same last season. Ipswich, single game week. I got a load of stick last season for going with Haaland in game week 2. Got the old 17-pointer, 16-pointer this season. So my man Kieran, FPL Discomfort, he got 20 points off him in a single game week the season before. If you're going to back someone in a single game week, Erling Haaland is the man, because he's got the history, he's got the pedigree in those environments, in those situations. And, you know, is there a bit of luck involved? Of course there is. There's a bit of luck involved in every chip you play and everything you do in this game. But D-Unit yesterday, he might say he was unlucky. He might say, oh, I was unlucky that Esteve interrupted the Foden goal. I was unlucky that Esteve scored the own goal just before Foden tapped it into an empty net. And maybe in that particular example, in that particular scenario, he was a bit unlucky. because, you know, if Estevez wasn't there, Foden would have scored. Of course he would have done, but what does that matter? Like, because he's thrown away a massive advantage of having Erling Haaland already in his team. And he's wildcarded, and there was no reason to wildcard. So he's used the wrong chip to start with. After a week of telling people not to be sheep, not to copy the big name content creators, the FPL cartel. Don't copy them. Don't copy them. We don't need to copy them, is what he says. And then, you know, 2 minutes before the Saturday morning price drops, he goes and copies them, you know, in a bit of a panic move. And it was just a foolish move, because you're cutting off the best chip to play when you don't need to, because you've already got the player that you need to be prioritising. And that's what I'm really trying to get to this morning, is that in FPL you've got to take your chances, but you can't go too differential. Like, there's taking chances and there's being a bit naive. And I feel like D-Unit was naive this week. And it's a shame, because I love the lad. Great banter, great charisma. If you've not watched D-Unit, and you probably have, but you should get on him, because, like, I mean, he was live streaming 13 hours yesterday in a Herculean effort. But yeah, he blundered there. Sometimes you've got to remember in FPL that the little corner of the internet that we occupy, the little space in the game that is reserved for us, is still very niche. And certainly at this early stage, sometimes the greatest differential is to do what everyone expects you to do. And, you know, you might say, oh, I took a chance. If it'd come off, it'd come off. Would have been fantastic, of course, you know. If I'd have... You know, I'll use a comparison of when I captained Anthony Gordon, and I get a bit of stick for that, and it's all good fun. I enjoy it. I do. It's nice that people remember your biggest, the worst moment of your FPL life. But like, it's an apt comparison, because in that game week there was no real standout captain. You know, you could say Bukayo Saka, and to be fair, he did score. Went off injured, 6 points. But, I mean, I don't actually think Saka is a viable captaincy option most weeks, because certainly over the last year, he's become more of an assister. And I feel like when you're playing the chips, and your captaincy needs to be on the goal scorers, because it's the goals where you get the points. So I mean, Saka would have been a nice fallback, but he wasn't a great option. So that was a week where captaincy was a bit more open, where there was a bit more opportunity to gamble. And yes, my gamble went horribly wrong. -4 points. And I mean, the FPL General yesterday, he got a little taste of that with the Bruno Guimaraes captaincy, resulting in a -2 points for him. And I feel his pain, but he doesn't quite feel mine that I felt in game week 2. But this is it. That was a good week to take a chance. And there's still 32 game weeks to come. And the worry I have, and it's not just for D-Unit, because he's a quality operator, finished 5,000 last year, he'll get himself sorted. But if you are watching this and you are a bit behind in the ranks, and you're thinking to yourself, I need to take chances, I'd just say, hold your horses there, big fella. Just ease up a little bit. We don't need to go all out at the rodeo just yet. You can lasso these points week by week. You know, for example, I am about 150 points off the world number 1, maybe 200. So if we say 200 points off the world number 1, you know, oh my God, I'm 200 points off the world number 1. How am I going to make that up? Well, 32 game weeks. little over 6 points a game week I need to make up. It's a midfielder's goal and a bonus point. Do you know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. And of course, the weeks where we make up 18 points reduces that threshold even further. And it's something we do need to be conscious of, that we're not getting a bit carried away by the early weeks, because what I would also say, a lot of those points ahead of you, chips, I've used 3 of them, and it's a bit frustrating. I've used 3 of my chips because I had the plan of wildcard 13, bench boost 15, free hit 17, and triple captain 19. Although the triple captain was also always, you know, the backup option is game week 19 if there's a better option to come. And at the time, I didn't have Haaland in my team. But then Palmer got injured and Saka got injured, and it's like, well, time to get the North Force. So he's on form. Sometimes you can just tell when a player is on it. And Erling Haaland is on it. You know, everything's going to Haaland. And Doku is one for serious consideration now. And sometimes when the die is cast, we can overlook players. And for a lot of us, not everyone, I'm sure, but for a lot of us, we would have thought, well, Jeremy Doku, he's an exciting player. He doesn't have enough end product, not nailed. He's basically Man City's Alan Saint-Maximin. And, I mean, he was that for a long time. But, you know, since the Club World Cup seems to have started putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And now he's a very dangerous player. And how can he not be first name on the team sheet? Well, because Erling Haaland's first name on the team sheet. But it's no coincidence that now Doku is like putting these end products more consistently, that Haaland has rediscovered the form that made him such a feared operator. Could Haaland break Salah's record this season? No, he's not going to break Salah's points record. All right, Steve. But could Haaland, that was a lad from my mini league. If you look at my desk videos, when I'm at my desk and you look behind, and there's a picture of the drawing of me and Mick Foley, another wrestler, on the wall. He drew that. I've got a great one of Bobby Robson by him as well. Art by Steve Rudd, if you're on Facebook or Instagram. Art by Steve Rudd. Yeah, lovely lad. He's actually a coach for the under-9s team down here, which is where I was walking at the start of this video. I vacated the field, so I could see they're coming down to start getting ready for the junior football. And I mean, you know, it's not often I come out in the morning. It's quite nice. Start the day with an FPL video. Start the day. I feel like the dopamine's flowing now. I feel a little bit of a tit walking around holding my camera, and somebody I know's seen me, and I'm sure I'll get a message off him before long. But yeah, he's in the League of Gentlemen now, but we don't talk about that anymore. Nice lad. So, but yeah, this is what I mean. Like, sometimes we can be guilty of overlooking the quality that a player is now consistently producing because they have been inconsistent in the past. And I wonder if we'll start doing that a bit with Doku. You know, maybe if D-Unit had gone Doku on it as his punt rather than Foden, I mean, he wouldn't be in quite as dire straits as he is today, but you know, there's weeks to take chances. And this week wasn't a week to take chances. This was a week to sell your granny to get Erling Haaland in so you could triple captain him. And those that didn't, they wish they did now. But there'll be other opportunities, although now Nuno Santos at West Ham, perhaps that one's gone. However, Ange Postecoglou at Nottingham Forest does not look like being a success. Maybe that will prove the fixture to target. You know, Milenkovic on the high line is not ended in 5-0 to England. So, anyway, that was my main point anyway, about not being too differential for the sake of it. You only need to find one differential goal a game week and you'll finish world number 1. That's all. You know, you want to get back to the top 10k, you know, and a differential assist a week would probably do you. You don't have to go too wild. You don't have to take these stupid captaincy risks in game weeks where they're not there to be taken. Sometimes, like the great Happy Gilmore, you just have to play the ball as it lies, which was the exact words I used for someone yesterday when they said, oh, should we go for Haaland in game week 6? Or should we save it for a later game week? And say, well, you don't know if that later game week will come. You don't know if he'll stay fit. You don't know. Now I'm walking past the car and people are staring at me and I feel a bit embarrassed, but I'm gonna act like I know what I'm on about to you. But lost my train of thought now. We'll go down the path. We'll go down the path and I can already see there's somebody walking towards me with a dog. This is not, you know, what started off as a 9 a.m. early morning walk before the world woke up is now the world is awake and they're out here making me feel embarrassed on me walking videos. Kept quiet as I walked past that bloke and he had his headphones on anyway. Do you know, the thing is, I live in a small northern town. Very northern. A lot of people think I live in the northeast, but I don't. I live in Cumbria. Little hint for you. I'm about 30 miles off the Scottish border, and up here, you don't get YouTubers walking around with video cameras and Osmo Pocket 3 staring at them, talking to themselves about FPL. You know, maybe I should move to a big city and you get away with this sort of behaviour a bit more, but there's a fine line between being a novelty piece of fun and a freak show, and sometimes I'm not sure which side of that line I fall, but do like this walk. I was trying not to walk too far from home because I've done my back. I was playing dodgeball, and first dodgeball of the season, it wasn't too bad. I was out of breath and stuff, but what it was, I landed awkwardly and I jarred me back, and then it was fine. You know, the initial shock eased off and I got a bit complacent. Got home, fine. Went to sleep, I was fine, and then in the middle of the night, I woke up screaming, and it wasn't because I thought I'd forgot to play my triple captaincy on Erling Haaland. It was because my back in my sleep had somehow seized right up and left me in an awful lot of pain. And then I had 24-hour shift yesterday. You know, I could barely get out of bed. But I did, and you know, this is the good thing about the 24-hour shifts is you get a lot of time off. The bad thing about them, if you can't make your shift, it's an awful lot of money to be leaving on the table there. So I staggered my way to work, and a lot of ibuprofen. We got through it, and my back's not too bad this morning, so that's quite nice. So, morning. Yeah, my back's not too bad this morning, but also at the same time, I don't really want to push it. So, 25 minutes into the video, let's talk about the rest of my FPL team, rather than D-Unit's terrible decisions and Erling Haaland. We all know about Haaland. Well, this is the other thing with the captaincy, why you have to know when to take the risk, because that triple captaincy is about the only thing that went right for me this week. And, you know, there's still the Sunday games to come, the Monday evening games to come. Monday evening game, Illiman and Die. Keep an eye on him. Said to you on Wednesday, why pay £14.5 million for Salah when you can get that same sort of output from Illiman and Die? And now Salah got 2 points, can Undie match Salah's 2 points for £8 million cheaper? You'd have to think so, wouldn't you? So the rest of my team was a bit of a shambles. I had the Spurs triple up, Porro benched, Vicario conceded, Kudos, goal ruled out. What can you do? So that's 5 points from them. The other two Man City players I had, Gvardiol. Like, I brought in Gvardiol for Cucurella, and to be fair, it's worked out quite nice. Extra 2 points in the bank. You never turn down an extra 2 points. That's why we signed the DEFCON daddies. But, yeah, to concede a deflected goal is always frustrating, especially when it's, you know, your new signing, because you just think, well, I could have waited a week and seen the lay of the land. Maybe I could have waited a week and got Gabriel, but I just don't see the point in signing these players like Gabriel. Gvardiol really was a bit of an oversight. I go on about the DEFCON daddies and then I go and sign Gvardiol. Bit of a silly move, really, but the point is, like Gabriel, a lot of people are rushed to him next week, but will Nuno sort out them set pieces for West Ham? You'd have to think that would be his top priority. And like Gabriel, might he get a goal in the next 3 game weeks? Of course. But will Alderete get 3 DEFCONs in the next 3 game weeks? Perhaps even more likely. And he's £2 million cheaper. And 3 DEFCONs is the same as a goal. Senesi already has the equivalent of, I've never been down here before, well, I've wandered down here. Senesi already has the equivalent of 2 defender goals after 6 game weeks. And, you know, I don't think Gabriel's scored yet. So what's the point in getting Gabriel? Oh, well, he might score. Well, he might do, but Senesi might well just get a load of DEFCON points in the meantime, and he might score as well. So, yeah, so it was a bit of a mistake, perhaps, to get Gvardiol, but I just like the fixtures long term. And you can't just build your entire team around the DEFCONs. And I am going to be tweaking, you know, Porro's going to come out now because, like Cucurella, I'm not paying premium money for a non-DEFCON defender who's not nailed. It's just silly, yeah. Could just get Alderete in, he's nailed, £4 million. Well, I think he's the second highest scoring defender at the time of recording, so fair play to him. Of course, that would involve going back on my whole, you know, Sunderland thing, but you can't, if you want to do well in FPL, you can't really, I know everyone says, oh, that lad won it without any Liverpool players, but it was a different game back then, pal. There was a lot less data, a lot less strategy, a lot less. I see why I've not walked down here, because there's absolutely sod all down here. Although I can survey Thackerbeck, see if I can get onto it, but I don't think so. We're already rambling a bit, so I think this site contains confined spaces. Look at this, like some sort of electronics graveyard. What's that all about? So I think I'll go through my team and I'll wrap it all up so I'm not just rambling, and then I can get back home and rest my poorly back. So Gvardiol, 2 points, disappointing. Reinders, 2 points, disappointing. Kudos, I've said. Cunha, like what a... Do you know, it's funny that, because I was so frustrated because I took the chance on Cunha on my wild card, game week 3. Then he got injured. And it's just like, well, I should have just went with Fernandez, got the penalties. He's missed 2 penalties this season in 6 game weeks, and he might not even be on them anymore. So, but I think Cunha is on the chopping block. I know he's got Sunderland next week, but Sunderland are going to beat them, aren't they? I mean, come on. Man United have only won about 8 games under Amorim in the league. Well, don't see why that would change, because they're up against an elite defence. Well, not elite, come on now, I'm being a bit too kind on them, but a very well drilled and organised team. Chris Wood, he's on the chopping. I've got 2 free transfers, so I can get rid of a couple of them. Porro might stay next week because I can just play Livramento. Cunha, Wood, both on the chopping block. Wood will be gone. I'm not sure who for. See what Gyökeres does later. Probably take a chance on him even when we inevitably shut them down, because his games are just too good. And Again, it's about picking your battles. And not a lot of people have kudos. My team's actually quite template, really. I don't know how. But, well, the thing is that, like, the players pick themselves. Maybe I'll get Anthony and Cunha. Like, we think his form won't continue, but then why not? We thought Man United's form wouldn't continue, and here we are 38, 39, 40 game weeks later, and they're still absolutely terrible and getting worse. But I did have the Bournemouth duo, Semenyo, and this is another thing. Like, to go back to the thread of the video, don't go differential for the sake of it. You know, I could have fought Semenyo, could have avoided him last week. Because he was playing Newcastle. And I thought, you know, I'm just going to get him, because then if he does hurt us, at least I'll get the points. And then since then, I've got 12 points off him, and very welcome points indeed. And then Joao Pedro, I mean, I'm not lying, he's on the chopping block as well. And I wildcarded to get Pedro. Like, part of the reason I wildcarded was because of Pedro, but he's just not very. I'm not sold on him. I've never been sold on him. And that, coming back from the international and saying, oh, I'm too tired to play, it's not the mentality I want for my FPL strikers. It just isn't. So, few options, but I would say, obviously, Haaland got the 48 points, and that's it. I've got 77 points for the game week. I am all out, so why I'm doing this video now. I don't know what's going to happen in Sunday games. 2.5 million in the world now, up from 9.8 million 3 game weeks ago. But that will inevitably fall with the Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle, Everton players still to play. So it's not. I don't know where I'll end up. How can we know? But I would imagine I'll still get a green arrow. It might be 5 million by the end of tomorrow night. It's not the end of the world. I mean, I've got that forward momentum now. But yeah, when Haaland got that hat-trick, I thought this is going to be a great game week, you know. And then all I've got apart from him is a couple of Bournemouth returns, and then just a team of 8 2-pointers. Well, 7 2-pointers and a 1-pointer. Very frustrating. It just feels like a wasted opportunity. But this is what happens. Same last year, everyone wildcarding game week 6. I told them not to then, I told them not to this year, and last year it was a disaster, and this year it was a disaster as well. And actually, the parallels between last season and this season are remarkable. And now we wonder if this is again when Haaland is going to lose his form. Maybe Salah will pick it up, who knows? Not ruling out Mo Salah, but he looks terrible. Looks terrible. Peripheral again yesterday. How his handball wasn't ruled out, I'd say we'd never know, but we do know, don't we? But, no. So, I've got Harvey Barnes and Livramento on my bench. That may come back to cause me pain, because it's always nice when the players from your own team get the points. But the thing is, if Livramento gets a clean sheet point today, I'll be cheering, because he'll be shutting out all those Gyökeres players, owners, and also Newcastle will have at least a point. So I'm still rooting for Livramento to get 9 points on my bench. Harvey Barnes, if he scores, great. He could be gone next week. There's a very strong chance next week I just get a couple of Arsenal players in and don't fight it, but Anthony Gordon is on my mind. The redemption arc of all redemption arcs, and you see D-Unit, he tried to banter me into it, to triple captaining Gordon this week, and I saw through it, because in this game you have to pick your moments to strike, and this week was all about Haaland, and D-Unit overlooked it, and he went for Foden, and partly inspired by me going into his deadline stream and saying, why not go all in on Foden? Why not take the chance? Think of the content you'll make if you pull that one off. And I mean, this is what happens when you're in a mini league with me. I can turn into a little bit of a bugger. A little bit of the old Mourinho mind games. The old Mourinho mind games. Just clicked over the microphone there. Probably not the senseless move. Right, rambled on enough. Not used to these early morning ones. Quite enjoyed it, apart from there's a lot more people about. Probably trim them out of the video, but we'll see. So however your Sunday goes, hope it goes well for you. Just not quite as well as my game week has gone, I suppose, but it's not even been that good a one really. Except for I got the big decision right, and now we are climbing up them rankings, closing the gap on all of those ahead of us. So enjoy your Sunday, enjoy the rest of the game week, and I will see you in the week for my game week 7 guide to glory. See ya!